Steve Lacy has had a truly wild path in the music industry. Growing up in Los Angeles, he met a kid in high school who was in the Odd Future affiliated R&B band The Internet. One thing led to another, and he was playing on their Grammy-nominated album Ego Death before he even went to prom. That got him beat placements with A-list rappers like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, as he shocked the industry by pulling up to fancy studio sessions just to ignore all of the equipment and make the beats on his iPhone. Meanwhile, he had embarked on his own solo career. His singles like 2015's See You Girl, released when he was only 16, and 2016's Some established him as one of the auteurs of the lo-fi R&B scene. His 2017 EP Steve Lacy's Demo and his 2019 album Apollo 21 were solid if measured steps forward. He was an example of an artist growing a fan base at a slow and steady pace. And in 2022, all of that went out the window with his single Bad Habit, which was carried by TikTok virality all the way to #1 on the charts. The floodgates opened, and he was gaining younger fans through TikTok who didn't necessarily know anything about his career besides Bad Habit, and even then might have only known a 30-second snippet of the song. This created some friction at live shows, where Steve was obviously and understandably frustrated that his entire career was seen in the context of this one song. Before he knew it, he went from being a beloved but more of an if you know kind of artist, someone you'd see in a place like Pitchfork or The Fader, to something bigger than himself. An artist so big that it became a meme to pretend to like him, or somebody you'd see on TMZ for smashing a fan's phone on stage after they threw it at him. Which is obviously never cool to do. Don't throw things at artists. He tried to get his fans to sing along at those shows, and a lot of them only knew the part from the TikTok trend. Steve Lacy, without his consent, became the face of a word that had started to grow in popularity on the internet: gatekeeping, or basically controlling access to something good so that it doesn't get ruined. Steve Lacy and his music is just one example of many things considered to be ruined by their virality. And it's not just music. Your favorite fashion brand becomes so popular that their drops sell out instantly, or they double their prices without increasing the quality because now they can get away with it. Your favorite restaurant goes viral, now the line is out the door and people are eating with their phones instead of their mouths. And the word became kind of a running joke, from the gaslight, gatekeep, girlboss era, to those Instagram stories like "I find MFs like you interesting," or the jokes about the restaurant owners self-deleting in front of them. But at the same time, it's a real thing. You'll see artists claiming they're being gatekept, fans joking or being serious about gatekeeping the artists in the comments, or, after an artist gets big, people judging and insulting the newer fans who found the artists after they did. And hey, that's kind of a form of gatekeeping too. But gatekeeping as a concept is divisive. On a personal, day-to-day level, some people see it as a good thing, a way to protect the purer parts of life from the corruption that comes with mass attention. Others see it as a bad thing, an inherently antisocial behavior, a thing that keeps people who deserve success from getting the amount that they should. On a bigger, institutional level, some people see it as an invisible hand that gets to decide who gets a shot and who doesn't. Others see it as the only way to protect good culture and make sure that the quality of art doesn't suffer from capitalism and the attention economy. So, who's right? Let's try and figure it out by looking at all the different types of gatekeeping that we see today, and maybe even going out into the wild and asking people what they think. One thing you really should be gatekeeping is your personal data, and that's why this video is sponsored by Aura. Have you ever heard of a data broker? There are people out there whose job it is to collect personal information about people like you or I, and then sell it to others so they can bombard us with ads, emails, and propositions. So if you get 100 spam calls, texts, emails, and whatever else a week, and you're wondering where these people got your number or your email from, there you go. Aura will help you remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points like the dark web and public court records, to alert you about potential identity theft. You'll get notified in minutes when your credit file has been compromised, like if someone tried to open credit cards in your name. This is just scratching the surface of what you can get with Aura. There's Aura VPN, which protects your internet connection with military-grade encryption. There's antivirus services to secure your Mac, PC, or Android from malware, including viruses, spyware, Trojans, ransomware, and more. There's a password manager to secure your passwords securely and conveniently across apps. And there's a US-based support team available around the clock if anything ever goes wrong. You can get all of this in one app at one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself or my family vulnerable to data breaches or brokers. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/HADJI to try 2 weeks absolutely free. That'll be enough time for Aura to figure out if any of your personal information has been exposed. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. Gatekeeping was first defined in 1943 by a social psychologist named Kurt Lewin. In Lewin's theory, there is a person called the gatekeeper, who serves as the decision maker around a piece of information. If they want it to pass on to others, they allow it, but if they don't, they can stop it. His research was based around the food decisions made by wives and maids during World War II in the 1940s, acknowledging that while there was this accepted conventional idea that men at that time controlled every decision in the household, the reality was the women were the ones actually going to the store and then deciding what they were going to buy and what they weren't going to buy. We can think of a bunch of other examples of gatekeeping in modern life. College admissions counselors, HR people, or the people who delete your resume when you try to apply for a job. But these examples are not necessarily what people are thinking of when the word gatekeeping comes up in internet discourse. To me, there are two different types of gatekeeping. Institutional, which is when a person or a group of people are in a position of power and can decide what gets by and what doesn't. Or personal, which is when on a day-to-day interpersonal level, someone chooses to withhold a piece of information, a restaurant, a movie, a song, from others because they don't want it to be ruined. Let's start with institutional gatekeeping. Gatekeepers have been around in the music industry for as long as the industry has existed. In the days before the internet, A&Rs at labels were the most important people to win over. Because back then, if you weren't signed to a label, it was damn near impossible to reach fans. In the words of Drake, he ain't signed, that ain't a good sign. I'm not gonna lie, that line hurt my feelings the first time I heard it. Anyway, at that time, music was solely a physical product, and your albums needed to be printed on vinyl or cassette or CD and then sold in stores. Labels had their hands in the distribution process, and while it eventually became a little bit easier for someone to go and print their own CDs, Ludacris, for example, sold 50,000 copies of his self-released first album out of the trunk of his car. It was a much smoother process to end up on the racks at Best Buy if you were gatekeeper approved. You could have gotten signed back then and then still get stuck, because the gatekeepers at the radio stations didn't want to play your song. These people were so powerful that it led to the creation of a dark underbelly of the industry known as payola, where labels would pay the radio stations under the table, in exchange for them playing whichever songs the label was trying to push at that moment. Other gatekeepers like the VJs at MTV and VH1 who decided which music videos got played during what time slot were also incredibly powerful. When the internet first became popular, for a blissful moment, it served as the great equalizer. Fans could now find whatever music they wanted without being programmed to by a radio station or a TV channel. They didn't even have to go to stores anymore to buy a CD that was manufactured and distributed by a major label. They could just download music now, legally or otherwise. At the same time, the internet gave birth to a new type of gatekeeper, the blogger. Popular websites that would tell you the best songs to listen to started popping up. And of course, artists wanted to be posted on these sites more than anything in the world. Tyler, the Creator, is one of the biggest artists on the planet right now, and the first thing he did on his debut project, Bastard, in 2009 was say F you to Two Dope Boys and Nah Right, two of the more popular rap blogs from the blog era, for not posting his music. Rappers felt like all they needed back then was a Two Dope Boys post or a Pigeons and Planes post, and then they'd be rich and famous. Digital-first publications and magazines like Pitchfork and The Fader became the bastions of cool, telling their audiences exactly what they should and shouldn't be listening to. Today, institutional gatekeepers come in a few different colorways. The labels still have some pull, those online bloggers still do matter a little bit, and now you also have people like Spotify playlist curators, or TikTokers choosing a sound for their video. The way that a rapper like Fake Mink can gain a ton of popularity after Drake brings him out and Frank Ocean follows him and puts him in a Homer lookbook shows that artists themselves can be this type of gatekeeper too. All of these people wield an immense power to make a song or an artist instantly popular, whether they realize it or care about it or not. The in vogue gatekeeper will always change, but the vibe stays the same. You'll hear artists from different corners of music say things like, "Oh, if only they put me on Spotify's Pollen playlist. If only Charlie D'Amelio would use my sound on TikTok. If only Anthony Fantano would review my album." In a world divided by algorithms today, now everybody kind of has their own personalized gatekeeper that they need to get past to unlock their dream audience. In some ways, thanks to the algorithm, fans and listeners are kind of gatekeepers in themselves, because they own a tiny share in every decision when they see a reel or a TikTok and they decide, am I going to like this or am I going to scroll past it? It's kind of like voting in America. Like, your vote doesn't feel like it makes a huge difference, but they kind of add up eventually. Gatekeepers are frustrating sometimes to artists and fans alike, but they're not always evil. The original music industry gatekeeper was responsible for plucking random talent out of some show at a bar and making them into the stars that we know and love today. Radio DJs, while not playing the payola slop that they would usually play, would sometimes put you onto something cool and new. The first time that I ever heard Frank Ocean, my favorite artist, was driving home from school in March 2011, listening to Hot 97 at like 3:15 p.m., and the DJ played Novocaine, and I was like, what is this? This is fire. And I remember Googling the lyrics so that I can figure out what the song was called. Bloggers have shaped the music taste of generations, helping turn obscure, unknown, and unsigned bedroom artists into genuine superstars. And when you look at today, they kind of play a very pivotal role in preserving the future of music. The threat of AI music looms larger every day. Getting sick of talking about it on here, but I keep having to. So these influential figures that people trust to put them onto good become more and more valuable in that world. Imagine what it would be like if we didn't have these tastemakers and these real people serving as some sort of quality control. Without human taste, everything would be determined by algorithms. The most popular artists would be the ones who get the most attention, positive or negative. And knowing the type of content that people are drawn to is probably negative. Artists like 6ix9ine would be the norm. It's whoever can drive up the most controversy, not write the best songs. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that Gummo wasn't slapping in 2017, but I don't think that would be good for music like overall. Having people with taste in positions of power can help shape things. So these institutional gatekeepers can be good when they have taste and they uphold their responsibility to put people onto good things. But the unfortunate fact is today, those types of curators and industry folk are few and far between. Labels sign artists purely off data in 2025. Signing an artist at zero and then actually developing them very rarely happens anymore. I saw this tweet from Z from DJ Booth that said the average artist newly signed by a major label this year already had 3.9 million monthly listeners. Radio DJs and Spotify curators are heavily influenced by the industry to play or place certain things. Blogs are heavily influenced by PR companies. Independent curators on TikTok and even on YouTube are driven by the algorithm. And that tends to inspire them to post things that they think are gonna get clicks and likes. As a YouTuber, I try not to think about that, but then I look at my Chance the Rapper video and I'm like, maybe y'all don't wanna see that. And for blog pages, unfortunately, like, hey, I found this really cool new artist, doesn't get as many clicks as updating us on whether or not Netspend and Osama-san are still following each other. And if you look at all of these factors that keep us from having a true, fair, taste-based gatekeeping system, they all have one thing in common. And it makes you realize that money is the biggest institutional gatekeeper of them all. There's nothing like going to your favorite local restaurant. The guy recognizes you, head nods, says, the usual. You're in and out within a couple minutes. No lines, no influencers. This must have been Zach Fox's thought process when he posted these DMs with none other than our friend from the intro of the video, Steve Lacy, after putting some chicken wings on his Instagram story. Steve, with that bad habit money freshly in his account, was ready to offer Zach $1,000 just for the restaurant's name. Hell, he'd even sign an NDA. Imagine if Zach posted those wings, tagged the restaurant, Steve went and did it too. It cascades, you go there in a few weeks and there's a line out the door. Obviously, this is a joke. Zach probably texted Steve the name of the place. And even if he didn't, people on Reddit were able to figure out it was an Inglewood restaurant called Wings to Go. Looks like Zach has a mole in his camp. But it is, to an extent, understandable to want to protect the things that you love from the disease of hype. Sure, some people want to go try a new restaurant just because they think it's good. Others want to go just because others are going. Some even want to go just to post about it. And you might wonder if they even like wings, or bagels, or cronuts, or whatever the hyped thing is. The best example to understand how one post can change the entire fate of a restaurant is with the popular influencer and food reviewer Keith Lee. Keith goes around the US trying restaurants anonymously and posting about what he likes and doesn't like. If he gives your spot a good review, expect the line to be out the door the next day, and for weeks after that. It's genuinely transformative for a restaurant. Just ask Janelle Prater, the owner of the Houston dessert spot The Puttery. Puttery? Puttery, it's like pudding. Puttery. Puttery, it's not puttery, puttery. After Keith Lee's positive review of her banana pudding, she said she went from having around 6 customers a day to 200, and even had to shut down for a little bit and regroup and hire more people to figure out how to accommodate that crazy line coming out of the door. Of course, this was a good problem for Prater to have. It saved her business. I'm just so grateful, she told Eater. This man literally changed my life and didn't want anything in return. But it's not always a good problem for people. A Japanese restaurant in Denver called Domo went viral and then had to shut down because the owners weren't prepared to serve that many people at the standard that they wanted to serve them at. Tasting Table ran this article where they spoke to a few more restaurants and chefs worldwide that had suffered similar fates, like Dominique Anzel, the creator of the Cronut, who said the immediate viral success of his baked good thing almost made them fail in its wake. A wine and ice cream spot in Paris called Folderol got so overrun with tourists that locals stopped going and the owners had to hire bouncers. So no wonder some people don't want their favorite restaurant to go viral. They might not be able to go back. I've had this thought a couple times, but I find it interesting how restaurants and musicians are weirdly similar in our social media age. Just like how some restaurants aren't prepared for the hype and demand and it ruins them, Some musicians aren't ready for instant virality. Think of all the artists that have had viral songs on TikTok. How many of them were able to maintain it and flip it into a sustainable career? Some definitely have, like Pink Pantheress is an excellent example. Just remember the kinds of narratives that were coming out around Pink Pantheress. How is she gonna play a show? Her songs are like a minute long. Look at someone like Ice Spice, who blew up so fast that she had to play at festivals and they were like some of her first shows. Like, that's a very difficult thing to do. And for every Pink Pantheress or Ice Spice, there's 100 artists who didn't know how to capitalize on the momentum, or let the fame and the hype eat them from the inside. But of course, there will always be some artists who rise to the top, and their virality propels them into bigger venues and higher tax brackets. The principle behind a restaurant getting so popular that locals don't want to go anymore fuels the fear that a music listener has when their favorite artist might start getting a little too big. A 2018 Steve Lacy fan might have gotten to see him a bit closer up on stage in a more intimate venue for a cheaper ticket price without a bunch of 13-year-olds and their parents surrounding them. I saw Steve Lacy as a part of the internet at the Trocadero Theater in Philadelphia in February 2017, and let me tell you, that's probably a way smaller venue than he's playing now. So does it actually make sense for a fan of an artist to not want them to get too big? What if that fan can't afford tickets to a show in an arena, God knows how expensive those are now, might run you hundreds of dollars just to sit in the nosebleeds? But at the same time, if you're a fan of an artist, don't you genuinely want them to succeed too? If their great music helped you through tough times, wouldn't you want others to get that feeling as well? And if your favorite artists are smaller ones, they might not be making as much money as you'd imagine, trust me. Sharing your love of the music with others is supposed to be one of the best parts of being a music fan. Going to a show, whether it's 200 or 20,000 people, and getting to see it and hear it live as a part of a community, that's where it's at, man. And if you can't make it to the show, there are gonna be online communities where you can meet other fans as well. It feels like kind of a the more the merrier kind of thing, and to actively push against that is antisocial behavior. But look, I think for all the jokes about gatekeeping artists, like the vast majority are not sitting there and intentionally hiding the artists they like from other people. Instead, it's more likely that they just aren't sharing them because music listening has become such a solitary experience. We get music personally, algorithmically delivered to us by streaming services and social media, and it doesn't necessarily match up with what our friends are getting. Some people have a culture of sharing songs back and forth with their friends, which is great, but not everybody has that. With all the different ways that I find music, from algorithms on streaming services to social media and blogs, nothing will ever hit like a good song that somebody sent me because they thought I would like it. Personal recommendation is king, and we should all share more music with more people and share more things in general because it's a nice thing to do. I do think that artists might feel like they're being gatekept because they're around in this era where organic sharing and stuff like that just feels less common. But I do think there is a real type of gatekeeping happening in a different and less literal form. There's an air of superiority that comes with knowing something high quality that less people know about. You know, the name 5 Nirvana songs or name 10 books type of energy. So if you're a person who gets their self-esteem off knowing artists before they blow up, and then those artists go mainstream, you might scream internally at the horror of accidentally getting grouped in with those normies who just started listening to them. You liked them before they were cool, and you wish that they had stayed like that, so you can keep liking them without having to grapple with your own level of coolness. There are so many examples of older artists who get a second life on TikTok as younger kids find out about their music for the first time. Deftones is one of the best examples. But think about the kids who might have found Sade because Kiss of Life was viral on TikTok. Some people probably listened to Janet Jackson for the first time after Someone to Call My Lover went viral. You could put Dreams by Fleetwood Mac or Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush in this box as well. And hey, I think it's fucking awesome that younger kids are finding out about great music. Sure, it might suck that they'll never have the context that I had when I heard Lotus Flower Bomb by Wale and Miguel, you know? But it is what it is, we can't change time. And we shouldn't be shaming them, going online and calling them new gens or whatever. We should be encouraging people to find cool old music. I think it's sick. There's no reason to be gatekeeping that. And look at this, at the end of the day, even though Bad Habit is the song that blew Steve Lacy up into who he is today, his top song on Spotify right now is 2017's Dark Red with almost 2 billion streams. And that song rips as somebody who was listening to it in 2017. I bet at least some of those 13-year-old kids who everybody was complaining about at those shows are now 16 or 17-year-old kids with a well-rounded music palette that started with finding Steve Lacy. Bad Habit brought the spotlight back on his earlier catalog. Music that I'd argue was underlooked at its time given how popular it is right now. This is something I've already covered in another video, but so much of music sharing is inherently performative, right? Putting a song on your Instagram story or using a sound on TikTok doesn't mean it's your top played song of the week. It might just be the one that you post so that you look a certain way or you bait your crush into replying. I think in the same way that holier than thou gatekeeping is kind of performative too, as you try to put on this air of being cooler because you knew something first, or acting like someone can't listen to something with the same level of intelligence as you because they found it later. There's a reason why people used to make fun of hipsters back in the 2010s who liked everything before it was cool. But again, this is an issue bigger than music. Some of you might know that I'm from New York. I was born and raised in Queens. Transplants, or people who moved from outside of New York to live in New York, are a hot topic here, thanks to an ever-rising cost of living, which creates neighborhoods with a lot of turnover, gentrification, and vast, quick, and immense change. Where I'm from in Astoria, I grew up on a street that was almost entirely one-family and two-family houses. Today, across from me are 3 apartment buildings that used to be houses. They just knocked down another house to build what I would imagine is going to be a huge apartment building on the corner. Astoria is a neighborhood known for being one of the most diverse in the world, with a very strong immigrant population of Greeks, Middle Easterners, Bengali people, Colombians, you name it. But it's in a permanent state of flux. Mom and pop shops are being replaced by chain stores. And we definitely need more housing, but everybody here is afraid it's going to turn it into another Williamsburg. And as I was working on this video, my mom and another one of my friends each separately sent me this reel from a comedian named Miles Toe. He's walking through Astoria, showing off the culture and the food, and he does a pretty decent job, in my opinion, of hitting all the areas that you need to see to get the full picture. What he says at the end encapsulates how so many Astorians feel. We don't want to talk about how great it is because we're scared we'll lose it.
So here's the truth. This place is heaven. But I shouldn't be saying this. I shouldn't be making this video because you'll come. You'll ruin it. So let's be clear. Astoria is mid, the food is trash, and everyone's on crystal meth. Because the real truth is, Astoria is heaven, which is exactly why you should never come.
People in the comments are also perpetuating this half joke that so many people I know do when we talk about Astoria, saying that it sucks so that people don't move here. This is not just an Astoria conversation. All of New York is constantly grappling with this conversation of gatekeeping, on a macro level of who should live where, to a micro level of your favorite restaurant going viral and ruining the experience. So I thought the right move for me would be to go to a familiar stomping ground and see what some other New Yorkers think. I'm here with
Sasson,
Dante,
John,
Kenzo, and Josh.
Your girlfriend's sister.
Are you from New York?
Yeah, I am.
What part?
I'm from Queens.
What part?
Nah, I kind of federal. I'm not gonna hug you.
No, I'm actually from like a small town like in Pennsylvania.
I'm from Philly.
I'm a student at NYU. Me as well.
What do you think of the word gatekeeping?
Basically means like you hiding shit from other people, or like cool things. You know what I mean?
Well, let's say we're skating, right? Because I'm skating. Let's say like, oh, do this trick, or you can't. You're not ever a skater.
I can't stand gatekeepers, bro.
I think of people not wanting to share where they found things or how they know things.
People who want to keep that information on some, usually pieces that are not that good.
Girlboss, gaslight.
Is there ever a time you think it's appropriate to gatekeep something?
Let's say you have like a certain spot like in nature and like you keeping that from people because you don't want them to fuck them up. I think that's okay. But like things like skating, gaming, music, there's no reason to do that shit for real.
If your boy asks you, yo, that shirt's fire, where you get it from, and you don't tell him, it's negative, because why you not gonna put your boy onto a cool brand? But if it comes to like food, that's valid. Don't tell him, nah, that's my spot. Fuck out of here.
I'm gonna seem like a hypocrite if I say yes, though. No, of course, like, that's your favorite spot if it blows up. But at the same time, like, if you really like a place, you want to see the best for that business.
I think especially like gay clubs. When they get too popular, they just become straight clubs.
I understand why people do it, especially like these days where like we're in a super like niche economy and everyone wants to be niche. Everyone wants to like be on this trend and be on the next trend. But I think we should embrace it rather than, you know, avoid it.
If you find a fire spot, if everyone knows about it, it's not a fire spot anymore.
Why is that?
That's kind of the whole like crux of social media, you know? Like, it's cool if everyone knows about it, but once people know about it too much, then it's like, oh, it's trendy. Something that maybe personally I don't care about, but a lot of people do.
Let's say the sandwich is like, what, $6, $5? People keep going there, the price is gonna go up and it'll ruin the whole thing. You feel me?
Can you describe a place that you right now would prefer to keep on the low without giving away what it is?
It's basically like Colombian fusion spot all the way in Queens. Okay. It's banging, I'm not gonna hold you.
Okay. Is it
Type shit.
I think the issue of gatekeeping is a great litmus test to see what somebody thinks about human nature in modern society. If you believe in the goodness of the average person, you think that things, work out kind of just meant to be, then you might see gatekeeping as a bad thing because community is good and you trust people to behave respectfully around things. If you have a more negative view than the average person, then it's understandable to want to protect the things you love from what you might see as a threat to their livelihood. Gatekeeping on a personal level can be this selfish, holier-than-thou type of behavior that only succeeds in keeping your favorite artist or restaurant from reaching the heights that their product deserves to based on its quality. And at the end of the day, if we're not sharing great things with each other, how will the younger generation learn what's good and what's bad? How will we learn to pass on things of quality if we're not constantly exchanging them with each other? At the same time, institutional gatekeeping can be a way to hold a high level of standard and keep that from falling off the rails. Having people at labels, radio stations, blogs, streaming services, running social media pages that actually care about getting good music heard by people is an essential part of a healthy music industry, which might be something that we just don't have. But when they hoard resources or they're bought out, just going with whatever gets the most views on a platform, participating in favor culture, that's what a compromised gatekeeper looks like. And in the algorithm-driven world, we can all be our own gatekeepers. We have a lot more control over what we see and consume than we might realize. So before you watch that junk streamer clip, remember that you could be doing literally anything else with your life. Before we get out of here, if you like videos on music and culture like this one, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I post a video every week. If you want to see them early, go to my Instagram, HADJI Gaviota, throw me a follow, and join my broadcast channel. I post all my videos in there one day early for free. Also wanted to say thanks to everyone who's checked out the video to my latest song, Gunk. I'm really proud of this. It's up on this channel. If you haven't checked it out, I'll put the link in the description. Stay tuned for a whole lot more. Let me know what you want me to cover next. Peace.